Hey everybody, we are going to talk about Social Security today, specifically the changes that are coming up in 2025. We'll dive right in just a minute, but before we do, please take a minute and check out fool.com/Frankel, the link you see on your screen. It's a message from our sponsor, The Motley Fool. Get the top 10 stocks to buy right now and some other great financial content. It's the best way to support this work I'm doing on YouTube. Again, fool.com/Frankel. So there are some Social Security changes coming up for 2025. Now, there aren't any major changes to laws affecting Social Security. Like the benefit formula is not really changing very much. Things like that. The cost of living adjustment is still calculated the same way that it has been forever and ever. But there are a lot of inflation-related adjustments that are important to know about. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. All right. So as I mentioned, each year there are several inflation-related adjustments to Social Security. Now, although inflation has definitely cooled down considerably since the peak in 2022, there are some significant changes for 2025. We still have some inflation, so a lot of key Social Security metrics are being adjusted. First and foremost, and I've talked about this in other videos, I have a thorough cost of living adjustment video that I just did about a week ago on my channel, so please check that out if you're interested. But the short version is that Social Security benefits will increase by 2.5%, and that is starting with the payment that you receive in January. So cost of living adjustments are based on inflation data, specifically the third quarter. So the Social Security Administration looked at inflation data from July, August, and September of this year, compared it to the same period as last year, and that is where the 2.5% increase came from. For the average retiree, that means you're going to get about $50 more per month, but the Social Security Administration will have a personalized cost of living adjustment notice that will be in your Social Security account. So if you haven't done so already, sign up for an account at ssa.gov. It's called a My Social Security account. Even if you're not at full retirement age yet, that's where you get your annual Social Security statements. It's definitely a great resource to have. The second thing that is changing is the Social Security formula, specifically the bend points. So I mentioned the laws aren't changing. So those three percentages, that 90%, 32%, and 15% you see on your screen, those don't change every year. But for people who are just becoming eligible for Social Security in 2025, the actual income thresholds are changing. So now you get 90% of the first $1,226 in average index monthly earnings. That's what AIME stands for. 32% of the amount above that, but below $7,391, and 15% of any amount over $7,391. So this will pretty much, it'll make initial benefits higher. The cost of living adjustment that I just mentioned makes existing benefits higher over time to keep up with inflation. Raising this formula, this helps new Social Security benefits rise in order to keep up with inflation. So number 3, the maximum Social Security benefit. I mentioned the formula on the last slide. There is each year a maximum amount of earnings that are counted for Social Security purposes. I'll talk about that in a bit. But that has the effect of capping the Social Security benefit at a certain amount, and that amount changes each year. So in 2025, the maximum possible Social Security benefit you can get if you claim at exactly full retirement age is a little over $4,000, $4,018, or a little bit more than $48,000 a year. So that's at full retirement age if you maxed out the Social Security taxable earnings every year throughout your career for at least 35 years. That's up significantly from $3,822 a year ago. And that's not the overall maximum. It can be even more if you wait till after full retirement age to start collecting. People can wait until up to age 70 to start collecting your Social Security benefit. And if you wait even a little bit, it can make a pretty big impact, especially if you were a high earner throughout your career. To make the long story short, if your full retirement age is 67, which most people are, and you wait until age 70 to claim your Social Security benefit, it can be permanently adjusted higher by up to 24%. So whatever the maximum is at full retirement age, add 24% to that. Um, in this case, you should see it roughly $5,000 a month would be the maximum you could get if you wait as long as possible in 2025. So the other thing I mentioned that each year a maximum amount of earnings is subject to Social Security taxes. This actually rose pretty significantly last year. This rose by more than that 2.5% amount that I mentioned earlier to $176,100. And the reason that that grew faster and has grown faster over the past few decades, actually, I've done some content on Fool.com about what Social Security benefits were, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And even when adjusting for inflation, people are getting more Social Security benefits today than they were decades ago. And the reason is because benefits are based on the maximum amount of earnings that are subject to tax, like the number you see right there. And unlike your cost of living adjustment and all the other adjustments that we've talked about, the taxable maximum is based on wage growth changes, not inflation. So if inflation is 2.5% last year, that would be the cost of living adjustment, which it is. The cost of your Social Security benefits are going up by 2.5% next year. However, if the average wages in the United States go up by 4%, that's what the taxable maximum would go up by. So those don't necessarily move together. Like I said, over the past few decades, the taxable maximum has risen significantly quicker than inflation. And this year, it's gone up pretty significantly. I remember when that was under $100,000, and that wasn't that long ago. So this has increased pretty sharply in the past few years. Number 5, the Social Security earnings test. One of the biggest questions I get from my Social Security age friends and followers is, how much can I earn before it starts to impact my Social Security benefits? That's known as the earnings test, and it applies to people who have not yet reached full retirement age. So just to kind of reiterate that, if you are already at full retirement age or above, you can earn as much as you can from a job, and it won't impact your Social Security benefits at all. If you are not at full retirement age yet, there are limits. So this is the amount of earnings that are exempt from this so-called earnings test. If you are going to reach your full retirement age after 2025, $1,950 per month or $23,400 per year are exempt. Anything above that, your Social Security benefits will be withheld at a rate of $1 for every $2 in earnings you exceed that threshold. If you're going to reach full retirement age during 2025, there's a much higher earnings test limit of $5,180 per month, and only the months before your birthday month are calculated. So if you were born, April 15th, only January, February, and March would count. And the withholding rate is a little more generous. Only $1 of benefits are withheld for every $3 of earnings in excess of that threshold. And it's also worth noting, and this is a big misconception, if your benefits are, or your Social Security checks are reduced or withheld because you're earning too much, it's not lost money. It will serve to increase your Social Security benefit permanently after you reach full retirement age. So you'll get it back in the end, but for the time being, your benefits can be withheld if you earn too much. But this earnings test tells you how much you can earn without having to worry about that. So those are the 5 major Social Security changes for this year. Remember, hit subscribe to my channel. Please give me some questions. I would love to answer questions individually. And thanks for listening. Hope you found this informative. I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. The Motley Fool is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for investors of all skill sets and risk levels. You all know how much I love researching new stocks and trying to find the next best investment. So I'm proud to partner with The Motley Fool to bring you 10 stock picks from the popular product Stock Advisor. Stock Advisor has beaten the market by nearly 5 times. So go to fool.com/Frankel to get your 10 stock picks now. The Motley Fool Stock Advisor returns are 767% as of July 5th, 2024, and are measured against the S&P 500 returns of 163% as of July 5th, 2024.